The views, information, or opinions expressed in this episode are solely those of the individuals involved and do not necessarily represent those of the University of Hawaii College of Tropical Agriculture and Human Resilience, our funders, or any of the organizations affiliated with this project.
My name is Kahealani, and I'm a lineal descendant of Waipio Valley. I'm the fourth generation of 6 generations wetland Kalo farmer, poi processors. I'm also a poi processor, a certified poi processor in Honokaʻa, Hawaii. We were established in 1997 after the closure of the Mokuwai sugar plantation.
Welcome to a Seeds of Wellbeing Experts in the Field podcast, featuring Hawaii agriculture producers and affiliates working in their field of expertise to support agriculture in Hawaii, in the United States, and in some cases around the world. These podcasts are made possible by a grant from the University of Hawaii College of Tropical Agriculture and Human Resilience, also known as CTAR, and the Seeds of Wellbeing or SOW project, and is supported by a grant from the U.S. Department of Agriculture, National Institute of Food and Agriculture, and the Hawaii Department of Agriculture. Every day, hundreds of people drive to the very end of the road out of Honokaʻa on the northeast corner of Hawaii Island to peer into Waipio Valley from the lookout. Some days, thousands arrive. They read the informational signs, written in Hawaiian first and English second, to learn about the history of this sacred place, the Valley of the Kings, and notably King Kamehameha, who united these islands in the late 1700s. They see that many signs warn to do the right thing or be pono, show respect by heeding the road closed, local traffic only signs, and keeping their vehicles out of the valley. So what happens in Waipio Valley can sometimes seem like a mystery. One sign shares that it has a 1,000-year taro or Kalo in Hawaiian farming tradition, which is used to produce one of the more popular indigenous foods on the island, poi, which is made from kalo. Kalo was once a staple of the Hawaiian diet with a per capita consumption of up to 40 pounds. While no longer at those levels, poi is still quite popular on these islands, and you can find fresh poi from Waipio Valley in the local grocery stores, and even at Costco. But how is poi made, and who in Waipio Valley is still making it? In this episode, we speak with Kahealani from Mokuwai Piko Poi, whose family has been making and selling Waipio poi since the 1970s.
We're making this pilina, we're making this connection to all over the island, and and getting to be cheerleaders too. It's not for people just to cheer us on, but for us to be able to cheer other people on what they're doing, and then hear the struggles that someone else might be going through, and it makes you to realize, like, wow, I thought I had it bad, but it's not that bad here. So, and I think with farming, like, that is the food, is like, you gotta be able to persevere. You have to be able to overcome the challenges, and part of that is knowing that you're not in it alone because you have other people.
The sun still won't be up for another hour or so, but Kahea and her family have already been up for hours, starting the semi-weekly process of turning kalo into poi.
What I tell everyone is, I'm not the best. I'm not a teacher. All I know is what I have grown up to know. So we only do it the way that we know to do it, our Mokuwai way. But someone else might have other ways that they do it. And at the end, we end up with kalo, we end up with poi. It's still a win. It doesn't, there's no right or wrong to how you do things. To me, the biggest gain is when you can understand your kuleana and you can do it. Because once you put that huli in the ground, that's your baby, and you're going to take care of it for those months. And when you harvest, you got to have the faith to understand that what you harvest is meant to be, because it's like you don't know what you're going to harvest at the end of your crop.
If it's good timing, then I kind of like to walk around and look at what the process is like.
So the kalo that we're processing today is 100% of what we aggregate in from our farmers. And so the first part is we got to do steaming. So we steam our kalo first, And then from the steam, then we take it to this hamster wheel, is what we call it.
Yep.
But it's basically, my dad has designed this, and this is what it does. So it takes off the outer skin, and it spins with water, and it removes all the outer skin. So it basically takes out like a whole step for us. A lot of people have to do it, hand cleaning it, but we're blessed because we get to have it in the hamster wheel, and then from the hamster wheel, it goes into the kitchen for all of the fine cleaning.
I watch as Kahea and her family cut out any bad spots on the kalo and rinse it and cube it up in preparation for grinding it into a thick paste that is the foundation for poi. This particular batch will be used to fill today's order for poi pops, something they invented to introduce poi to children and to help develop an appreciation for kalo. As they continue to work, we continue to talk, or talk story as we say in Hawaii. When did you make your first poi pop?
2017. 2017 is when we're starting to play around with it. 2018 is when I had my first, when I had a big order. We can feel for our farmers. We can know the questions that you're questioning yourself as you're planting, which is exactly what Waipio went through. Majority of the farmers there lease aina from Bishop Museum. And when they didn't have a lease contract and was on a year-to-year lease, that put everybody in limbo. Was like, why am I gonna plant this year and not know if next year I'm gonna be able to have a lease and I'm gonna be able to harvest my kalo?
Sometimes the kalo's not done in a year.
Exactly. And so that put farmers into this place of not farming. And yeah, I am proud that about 2 years ago, we established our lease contract, 15-year lease, and now you see Waipio coming back to life. You see farmers putting the time and effort into it. It's a give and a take, you know what I mean? And it's a balance, and nobody wants to be in that limbo. You're already in limbo planting in Waipio because like they were saying earlier, you don't know if a flood's gonna come and your entire crop is gone tomorrow, and you gotta start all over again. Let alone you're planting and not knowing if you can harvest next year because are you gonna have a lease contract, So all these little things play a big role in the success of Waipio. It plays a big role in the success of kalo farming.
After this kalo paste is made, water is added and hand mixed, and then more water is added and blended by machine to the proper consistency for the poi pops that they're making today, before being loaded into their custom hopper on the wall, where the poi pop bags would be filled. You got special bags made up, yeah?
So the thing is with our company right now is everything is hands-on. Like we literally tie every single bag, every single pop.
After this, we sit for a few more minutes to talk about things like fabricating their equipment, working with other kalo farmers, and selling to grocery stores and Costco.
Part was because they don't just sell poi equipment. Mm-hmm. You tell people poi, they're like, "What is that? What's poi?" But my dad actually fabricated all of our equipment. And we give thanks to the Mokuwai sugar plantation because those were the skills that was learned there. And he got to use it even after, it's helped us to become what we are today. So our machine is customized by himself. Our bagger is customized by himself.
How many pounds of kalo do you process every week?
We do on an average about 1,000 pounds. Yeah.
And how much of that are you growing yourselves?
Well, right now we're in the process of reactivating Mokuwai farm, and so we only have a little sliver of the aina that we have there. But basically, I would say almost 2 years ago, we didn't have not even one kalo in the ground. We did 100% of aggregating from our local farmers as well as inter-island. And now we went from no kalo to 12 lo'i. So yeah, I mean, we're definitely in process, but all the success that we've had has been by aggregating from farmers.
Since 1997.
Since 1997.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Like I mentioned, I saw you in Costco. I saw you in PTA. So I'm curious how you made those connections, because I think a lot of Hawaii ag producers might be interested in trying to sell into those types of key places in order to be successful.
Honestly, with Costco, it was just a word on the street. They heard that we were doing poi and that we were a certified processor. So they made contact with us and asked us if we would be interested in being in their store. And then, of course, we had to do the steps that they require, insurance that they require, and all of these things that we weren't used to doing. But it has been a blessing because we use Costco as another basically arm and leg for us, that we can't get to those deliveries or we're missing those people, but they have the option to go to Costco and still get our product.
At a great price.
Yes, I feel it's still at a reasonable price, and that's what we strive for. And that I think was the hardest part for us about going commercial, was being able to keep the pricing at a reasonable rate, because sometimes when you go into those categories, then everything just gets blown up and then people can't afford it, and that's not what we're in the business for. We want to make sure that what we're trying to do is just get it in places so that it's more available for people to get.
Yeah, and I think seeing poi in Costco, I think is maybe only in Hawaii, right? Is it only on the Big Island? Maybe.
No, they actually have it, because prior to us going through the pandemic, we were actually doing all of the Costco in Oahu as well.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I think that was one of the busiest Costco's in the United States.
Yes.
In Honolulu.
Yes. So it's an honor.
Are you interested in finding other Kalo producers that you might want to work with and buy Kalo from, or you feel like you want to focus on growing more yourself, or are you in the place where you want to do both still?
Yeah, I think where we are right now is finding the blend, like we want to still be able to support our farmers, and the farmers that have supported us for all these years, it's very important for us to, the saying is you got to know where you're coming from to know where you're heading, or who helped you to get to your next levels. Well, I'm never gonna say that we did it on our own, because our kupuna left those footprints for us to follow. We've taken that and we've basically did what we had to do in today's time to make it work. And our aggregating from our farmers came with having to adjust from the plantation lifestyle, now becoming a certified processor, and assuring that we were going to have market for this certified kitchen that we built. So we spent years just building the security of having our certified kitchen and the support of our customers, which we've had. We have one market up in Kohala that we do under the banyan tree. We've had that from ever since we started, so that's 1997 and we're still there. And so that was what we were focused on. And then realizing the Aina needed to be cared for. She needed attention. So Waipio needed attention. And that's why we decided it was time for us to reactivate the farm again, because we were still going there and visiting her and all of that. But when we actually get to work in the lo'i and be in that lepo, I mean, that's what it's all about. So now we can say we do the full circle. We're full-time farmers and we're full-time poi processors. And when you're doing the full circle, you can have so much compassion. We can have compassion for your farmers because you know the struggles that they go through and the highs and the lows. And you also can feel that for the other processors, that nobody sees the behind the scenes of what you go through to make that poi. But the blessings that we get by being able to provide this food for our people, that's what we're striving for. So now that we have the full circle, I'm always open to meeting new farmers. I'm always open to new opportunities. And the reason why we wanted to reactivate our farm was for that reason. When projects come up, we can just say yes or no. Like, we don't have to go and try to figure out how we're gonna make it happen and if we can make it happen. So we want to look at doing more projects. And at our farm, we also have a program that we started, which was a Hanai Lo'i program. No strings attached, no money exchange. It's just for people to feel connected to the Aina.
At Kahea's invitation, I drive down into Waipio Valley to visit with her and her family at their Kalo farm. I've been into the valley a few times, but each time it's a humbling and somewhat tense experience, shifting into four-wheel drive, ignoring the road closed sign, descending the narrow, steep, and rugged road into the valley. There are spots where I have to wait and peer around a cliff to see if anyone is coming up, since they have the right of way. The valley is intensely beautiful, which is distracting and inconvenient on such a sketchy road, so it's important to be careful not to misstep or disrespect its residents. Once the paved road ends, a sharp right would take me to the black sand beach, but I head left and deeper into the valley. I still drive slowly, as it feels eerily sacred and private and otherworldly, even more so the further down and into the valley I get, so it's hard not to rubberneck at the steep green valley walls, the breathtaking waterfalls, and wonder who lives down here and how they're able to carve out a living. I remind myself to stay focused because it's a puzzle of finding the proper turnoff, which stream to cross, and which unmarked gate to open to ensure I don't trespass and show the valley and its residents proper respect. I make it to the Mokuwai Piko Poi farm and drive through the Kalo fields, or Lo'i, and sit with Kahea to talk story for a bit.
We were actually the first certified kitchen on the Hamakua coast. So, from my parents starting off with just this dream and then walking in with a piece of paper and saying, this is what we want to do, how do we do it, and then following all the steps. But our business was never based on like technology and websites or anything like that. Everything that we did was on word of mouth. And to have that certification, because the certification was what helped us to get into stores. We weren't planning to be an in-store processor. We were gonna just do direct sales to customers. And for Costco, it was a word of mouth. And for KTA, they were more a situation where I had built up this confidence and I walked in with my product and said, I need to speak to a manager. I was wondering if you would be interested in carrying my poi in your store, and it's just a simplicity. It's nothing high tech or anything like that. It's just following the plan of the kupuna, following the footprints that they've left for us, and just making it work in today's world. But really, they were the ones that established the plan. My great grandpa came here from Canton, China. He married my grandma, who was pure Hawaiian, and at one time he farmed 2/3 of Waipio, and that's an honor to be here carrying the kuleana of his legacy, the legacy that he left for me to follow, the footprints that he left for me to follow. So I'm just making it work in today's world. what we have to do.
So is he actually on this property where we're sitting
Yes,
today?
this was one of them.
One of
And
your
so
lands.
then it was handed over to my grandpa, my dad's dad, and then handed over to us. So it's a great feeling to know that every piece of this aina that I'm on and that my children are on was somewhere that they once were as well. You know, it's very much a part of us.
Was your dad farming down here, or did he stick with the poi processing? He was kind of an engineer, right? That seems to be his skill. From looking at your setup in Honokaʻa, he's certainly got an engineer's skill and brain.
Yeah, and he took that and implemented into our business. He's implemented into our farm, working equipment, like all those different things. And yes, like before I was even thought of, he was here farming.
Yeah.
You know, so after they had me at a year old, you know, things change. You have to now adapt to having a child and all of this, but they incorporated me into this lifestyle as well as with my brother. And this was just, we thought everyone was doing this work. We thought that everyone scrubbed their fingernails on Sunday night to go to school the next day, you know, but this was just the life that my parents wanted to give us.
Yeah. And did you were you in Waipio for a lot of your life, or did you leave and spend time in other places for a while?
Yeah, so I grew up here my entire life, and when everyone was going to the beach or having fun times, I had to be here. It was, no, we have to go work in the lo'i, you know, we have to pu Kalo. So that's where I was. And then after I got older, graduated, I did work for the hotel industry. So I got to see that side of it. And so there was a pause for me where Waipio was more on a part-time basis. And then after our certified kitchen was built and we started the poi side of it, we put a lot of concentration into the poi side of it because of the need to assure that we had market. And that investment there was a purpose for it, you know. So we've put a lot of time into the kitchen side of it, and I was still working for the hotel industry, and then eventually I made the decision to come back to the family business and work with my parents, you know. And it's a decision that I'll never regret, because the terms used, you hear it a lot, is family owned and operated. But when you're actually doing it, it takes that definition to another level. You know, it's family owned and operated means every section that the business or the farm requires is us. And it's a blessing, you know, that we learn so much. It's not always on the up. Sometimes we have the downs, but being a farmer, you learn to persevere, you know, you learn to get back up again. No matter if something goes wrong, it's not always going to be right, but you know, you learn to get back up again.
And you've kind of started doing a lot more lo'i kalo growing and cultivation, and when did that all start? The expansion, kind of what you're doing down here.
Yeah, so we've reactivated the farm. She was on pause while we were establishing the poi business, and realized that we had a missing part, and that missing part was having our own kalo, because all these years that we've been in business, so-called, for the poi side, we have done aggregating from our farmers, local farmers here in our island. And it's been great because, you know, that's what it should be about. It should be about supporting one another, you know, your success is my success, you know, and that was great. But the reason why we wanted to reactivate is, first of all, she deserves it. That's part of our kuleana, is to be here and to malama this aina. And the other thing is opening up opportunities for other projects. Like, if other opportunities come along, we have Kalo to be able to provide for that project. And that was what we were missing. And so now that we're reactivating and we are implementing our Kalo into our process, it's making a world of difference. You know, it alleviates a lot of pressure because family owned and operated is, you know, you got to make it work. And if it's not working, you have to find a way to make it work. And so that was the way that we found to make it work. So, you know, 2 years ago, we didn't have any lo'i. And now
it'll look like what's behind you.
Oh, yes. That's what we were looking at. And now we have 12 that are cultivated and continuing to move forward. So today, that's what, you know, I was showing you is that, like, we have to have these lo'i prep because the mamas have done so well in the lo'i, and all of that huli, all of that seed can't go to waste, and we have to transfer it into the next lo'i so that we can assure that we keep this cycle going, you know. But it's really exciting to see the success. And along with our dream, when we reactivated, we also wanted it not to only be a farm. We wanted it to be a place of connection where people could come and they could feel connected to the Aina. Because the lack that we have, what I've noticed is if people don't have access to Aina, they feel like they don't have access to Kalo. They don't have access to Poi, and that they're disconnected from that part of the culture. But in reality, we have Aina and we have Lo'i. And so we actually developed our Hanaya Lo'i program. And everyone's like, what is that? You know, and basically it was just allowing people that wanted to have Lo'i to be able to have it. And so we will help them to get it prepared, get the huli, teach them how to do the huli, how to plant, how to maintain and take care of it. And in the end, the Kalo would be sold to Mokuwai Piko Poi. And that was a win because a lot of farmers go into farming, and the other issue is, where do I market it? And so these farmers are able to know that all the work that they're putting in, you know, Kalo is anywhere from 9 months to 12 months. We've had some lo'i is 17 months, you know. And if all of that time you're worrying about what's going to happen to your Kalo if you're not going to consume it all. So Mokuwai Piko Poi purchases it off of them, you know. And it's not it wasn't something based on rent and all these other criteria that they normally get wrapped up in. For us, it was just commitment and consistency. And with those two things, you get quality, you know, and that's what we're striving for. So here at Mokuwai, like, we want the open gate policy. We have fences, we have gates. That's to assure that our crop is protected. You know, we have wild animals and stuff, which we love, but we don't love them working in the lo'i with us, you know. And so, you know, we've had to do those things, but we want to create a situation where people can feel like they belong, you know, and having all of that different energy coming here and positivity and all of that, that's more than any of the money we could make. Because in a farmer's world, and every day you're getting down and you're just doing it because it has to be done. That's your kuleana. But when you have this other energies that come here and they feel you and they tell you like how great of a job you're doing and stuff, I mean, that's more payment than I could ever ask for, you know. So that is what we're striving for.
And how do you find folks that ultimately come down and work the lo'i or their own lo'i that you then buy the kalo from? Is that word of mouth pretty much?
Yes, we've based everything on word of mouth. We've based things on enterprises that have embraced what we're doing. Go Farm was one of them. You know, they've brought groups down and been able to contribute the positivity to what we're doing, because yes, it's important to grow kalo. It's important to make poi. It's important for our people to have that. But it is also important for us to cultivate farmers. And you cannot cultivate farmers if they feel that they don't have access to it. You know, some of it is access to aina. Some of it is just, I don't have the startup capital to do it, you know. And so here in Mokuwai, like, we're utilizing our equipment. We're utilizing our time to do this help and guidance and all of that. But I feel like my kupuna did it for me, you know. My dad has done it for me. So why wouldn't I do it for someone else? And the reality is, as a poi processor, it's an honor to be someone's first food, and it's a great honor to be someone's final food. So we focus on our kupuna and we focus on our keiki, because the kupuna has led the way. They're the ones that left the footprints for us to follow. They gave us the plan. And our keiki needs to be taught this, and they need to have the ability to have a taste of this, because if we don't have up and coming farmers and up and coming poi eaters, then what's going to happen to poi and kalo someday, you know? So our focus is on the kupuna and the keiki, and everyone in between is just enjoying it, you know. It's like, but I think like you have to find your why, you know, and that was our big why. And of course my keiki is my why, you know, because they have to know where they came from to know where they're heading. And this is why it's so important that at their age they're able to do and know the process, you know, from starting a lo'i all the way to huki, to processing, and then delivery, you know, and having that interaction and seeing the oohs and ahs and highs of people that love your poi.
And it looks like they're involved in all the parts of right now, right?
Yes.
They are. And
yes.
How old are they?
My son is 17 and our daughter is 12.
Yes. And do they want to continue
yes.
working?
Yes.
Working
so our son will be graduating this year, and he'll be attending Wild Tech in Wyoming. And then he plans to return as a diesel mechanic and welder, you know, because having all the equipment, and here in the valley, it would be really amazing to be able to have a mechanic that we don't have to haul the equipment out to get it repaired or maintained. So, you know, everybody, and that's the thing, like what I'm enjoying. And with, as this dream continues to unfold and it continues to develop, what I'm enjoying is how every person that gets involved brings something to the table, brings something, you know. And I believe that we can be successful, you know, if we just focus on the simplicity and focus on the honor that it is to do what we do, and then just continue to go with it. You know, here in the valley, you're taught from such a young age of respect and water and all of these things of awareness. And that is the thing for us, is you could have differences with your neighbor, but you have to all get along in the sense of holding hands because we all share water, you know. And I think that's a great thing to raise my children, knowing that you take that everywhere in life. Wherever you go, you may not agree or with someone, but everyone has to get along in order for it to work, you know. So I like the connection of water. What someone's doing up on the top affects the next person, and then what you're doing, so many farms here that could affect somebody on the bottom. And so you always have to have the thought process of how it's affecting the next person. If you have an invite, if you have a person that has kuleana here and is bringing you here, you have purpose. You know, if you need to go to the ocean, you have purpose, you know. And that's how it should be. It's about just respect, you know. And for Mokuwai, we're always here, we're always available, and we always welcome, you know. If you want to come for the day, if you want to camp, if you want to malama, whatever you want to do, that's what it's about. And that's how we want to continue to grow and keep moving forward in that motion. We don't want it to seem as if, oh, we're special because we have this aina here and you don't have aina. No, you have access to aina, you know.
It is important to Kahea to open up their property to aspiring Kalo farmers. She wants to see more Kalo grown in the valley, demystify the growing process, and help grow more Kalo farmers. The University of Hawaii's Go Farm program has the same goal of growing farmers, so it's only natural that Kahea invites the Go Farm Kalo farming class to her property. I have the good fortune of joining them on another beautiful day in the valley. We are glad she accepts our offer to help, and so after some initial instruction, we wade into the next lo'i to be planted to help clean out some invasive weeds.
Then the machine can come to the edge and grab and take out, versus having to go in. We're trying not to have to go in because we don't want to like chop it up, and then eventually this one here is not one that you can huli the mud and it's gonna die. It's just gonna come up stronger and smile at us. So when we do it, we call lily ko. So like if you hooky, then you kind of feel with your fingers and you can feel if there's any more roots left or stem left or whatever. But that's pretty much what we would normally start off doing.
We thank Kahea for sharing this story of Mokuwai Piko Poi. We are grateful to her and her family for opening up their hearts and homes to us to share the beauty and mysteries of Waipio Valley, growing Kalo in the lo'i and turning it into poi to share with the Hawaiian Islands and the world. If you want to know more about Mokuwai Piko Poi, just look for it at your local grocery store or at Costco, or you can also check Instagram. Now let's hear some final thoughts from Kahea.
I'm a strong believer of confirmations, you know, ho'ailona. And so I put it out to the wind, and from there I'm just letting it flow, because when you do it that way, I feel like the kupuna is helping me to make the right decisions. They are telling me where I should be putting my time and my energy. Of course, where do I want to see it? I want to see the aina cultivated. I want to be able to provide without limits. And I want to be able to feed our people the way that they should be fed. You know, that's where I would hope for it to go. And whatever opportunities come along with that hope and desire, I'm going to embrace it. But I don't have a particular plan of where I want to foresee things. Right now, what I need to do is exactly what we're doing. We're reactivating this aina. And the reason I use the word reactivating is because I didn't create it. It was created a long time ago, before my being. And so all I'm doing is just doing what I was born to do. And it's not easy work, and it is hard. It's hard work and it's dedication, but I know that if we continue to move in this direction, it's gonna be an amazing thing someday.
Any final thoughts about what you'd want to share with Hawaii ag producers that are feeling stressed and ways they can maybe feel less stressed?
I think what I would like to share is you're not alone. Because that feeling of loneliness and that feeling of not belonging is really the feeling of giving up, basically. And that's why some give up. But when you find your people that can actually believe in your dream and that they can actually embrace what it is that you're trying to do, it takes it to a whole nother level. So for me, it's finding your people, you know, and finding the people that believe in you as you have, you know, to take the time to hear my story, to hear our journey and our legacy and all of this. That took me to another level, you know, and being able to be a part of cultivating farmers, this is part of the healing. Because just like how they talk about Kalo and Poi being something that eventually could become extinct, so could our farmers. And I believe that our Hawaii Islands can provide for our people. So we need to continue to embrace that and cultivate farmers. Encourage them in whichever way. Because I know, as being a poi processor and a Kalo farmer, a lot of places that you go and you mention that, they're like, you're what? What is that? What do you do? What do you need? You know? And it can be a little bit defeating, you know, because it's like, God, we're like, nobody knows what we need or what we wanted to get the point across. But when I can sit here and share and feel like I'm being heard and feel like I'm being seen, like I was seen, that is a win for me. And so I would just tell them, you're gonna have your highs and you're gonna have your lows, but don't give up.
And find your people.
Find your people.
Because they're out there.
Yeah, you gotta find your people, you know, and you have to associate yourself with people that can endure the work that you do, you know, because it's not easy work. Any type of farming is not easy work.
Yeah. No, but it is beautiful.
It is.
And what a place that if you're gonna have to do hard work all day, this is such a beautiful place to do it. You know?
It's distracting.
It is. In a good way.
Yeah, it's a positive distraction.
And
you know?
can always just jump in the river, or
yeah.
you know,
yeah.
if you need to.
And that's why we embrace the whole work play.
Yep.
Because you have to have the balance, and you have to have those things that can replenish your efforts for the day.
Yeah. Nice. And I hope you are finding that in your life.
Yes.
Because you're doing so many things. Thank you.
The intention of these podcast series is to create a safe space for respectful and inclusive dialogue with people from across a broad and diverse spectrum involved in growing and making accessible the food we share together. A diversity of voices, perspectives, and experiences can serve to deepen mutual understanding, to spark creative problem solving, and provide insight into the complexities of our agricultural system. If you, our listeners, have experiences with Hawaii agriculture ecosystem, from indigenous methods, permaculture, smallholder farmers, to large, including multinational agricultural industrial companies, and everywhere in between, and you would like to share your story, please contact us. We welcome your voices and perspectives.
And I feel like being in the Piko, my parents always taught me was, you know, does it feel good? Does it feel good in your Piko? You know, is your na'au telling you that it's good? So being part of the Piko of the valley, I have to always feel good about it. And these are the moments that I feel good about it. Sitting here and being able to share our dream, being able to share our aina, that feels good. It might not